Good morning, Pastor Brian here. Thank you for joining me today as we read a chapter a day through the book of Psalms. Today we're reading Psalm 93 together. I'll be reading from the Common English Bible as I do each and every day, each time we gather together. I encourage you to find what is best for you, whether it's a different translation of the Bible or listening along, and find that comfort zone as we hear and read Psalm 93. The Lord rules. He is robed in majesty. The Lord is robed, clothed with strength. Yes, He set the world firmly in place. It won't be shaken. Your throne is set firm for a very long time. You are eternal. Lord, the floods have raised up. The floods have raised up their voices. The floods raise up a roar. But mightier than the sound of much water, mightier than the sea's waves, mighty on high is the Lord. Your laws are so faithfulness. Holiness decorates your house, Lord, for all time. That's the end of Psalm 93. It's a very short psalm, but beautiful. It is extremely joyful and one that talks just about the majesty of God's rule over this world. You know, it talks about God being robed on high and with strength, but that also God is the one who set the world in place. And that even things as powerful and as mighty as floods and oceans, and how loud and uh, just awestruck we could be by them, God is mightier than any of that. God is on high. And then it goes on to talk about God's faithfulness through the laws, and that holiness is what decorates God's house, which I think is incredible. You know, we think about the Solomon's temple, and we remember how glorious that was, and it was, you know, a wonder of the world. We think about some of the different churches or cathedrals that we've been in, and just the awe and majesty of them, with all of the different fine artwork and all of the just the way the structure was built to create that sense of awe and power and might. And yet, what I see in this psalm, in this very last verse, it says, holiness decorates your house, Lord, for all time. And so it's not about the fancy building. It's not about the fine decorations. It's not about the gold chalices and the beautiful painted ceiling that was hand done. You know, it's not about that. The things that should decorate the house that we worship in is God's holiness. That we should be there to experience God's holiness, that we should worship God in a way, whether we're in God's house or we're in our own house or we're out in nature, that wherever we find that place to worship, that the biggest thing is about God's holiness, and spending that time to praise and thank God for God's holiness, for God's faithfulness, for God's might and power, and for God giving us this beautiful creation. So what did you hear in today's psalm? Write it down, share it with a friend, share it with us. And as always, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and God bless.